And let's go. Hi and welcome everybody to the SUSE QE Tools Workshop. Today on the 25th of March 2022, the topic will be about the to-do functionality in openQA. It has a link to a specific ticket, and that ticket was recent work that was conducted. Features where the to-do functionality in openQA was extended because it was there already for quite some time, but we took that as an opportunity to cover that in a workshop topic in more detail, show all different aspects. And of course, I would be really interested to hear from you how you use that in your daily work, or maybe how you don't use that and maybe find completely different workflows where something similar is achieved. So the epic that was resolved 2 months ago, but still in the beginning of this year, was to be able to list all unreviewed failed jobs on the /tests page on request. And it was already there on the overview page of openQA, and that is the tests page of openQA. So I will show that shortly in a minute, how it actually looks like in reality. But let's first go to open.qa. Let's say you want to learn about that from documentation. So let's go here and highlight the whole document in a single HTML file, but you can also choose the PDF or individual documents. So let me go here. Let me just search for TODO, and I find this. I find filtering test results and builds. At the top of the test results overview page is a form which allows filtering tests by result, architecture, and to-do status. And to-do means the tests that still require review. It also says that also the old test table allows filtering by the to-do status. Oops, sorry about that. My camera overlay blocking that. So also the old tests view shows that. And there's a link to this URL meant review batches. So what we are looking for is this small batch which you get as a present if we manage to review all test failures in openQA test. What does that mean? Let's take a look in this example. So for that product Slim Micro, there's build B8.2, and it shows that green check mark, meaning that, well, everything is fine. There's no work to be done. Why? In detail, you can see that here, because all builds passed. Right? You can see that the build B2.11, it has comments. Well, comment means there's something going on, but it doesn't tell us what the failures actually are. Are they like legitimate product regressions? Are they test regressions? Are they some kind of flaky, unreliable test results? We don't know that. In the case of WSL build 2.270, there is a small badge, and it also tells you in the hover text that this build was apparently reviewed, and meaning that there was one bug ref label. You take a look here, you see 5 passed tests and 1 failed, meaning that for the 5 passed, there's no review work needing to be done because test passed, fine. 1 failed, and for that 1 failure, to do that specific look, meaning that somebody has reviewed the test failure and say like, okay, I know what that thing is, and maybe I put a bug reference there. Now let's go back to the homepage and say watch it in action, because that also applies to what we want to do now. And we can see that's the index page of openQA OpenSUSE.org live, and you can see that in action. So tumbleweed, you can see that the later build all had been nicely reviewed. There's this hover text, which unfortunately doesn't show here when sharing the screen. It says reviewed, Well, the number should be clear. What needs to show up there? The number needs to be 17. Why 17? Well, because there were 17 failures. And 2 days ago, the number was 16 because there are 16 failures. So for today, there are comments, but as you can see, the build isn't even finished yet, or there was a need to re-trigger some tests, or some tests are currently not yet finished. They are unfinished, and there are up to 19 failures, meaning that it's at least not completely reviewed yet. If we follow that test overview, we are able to find the one needing review, click on the filter box, click on To-Do and apply, and then we can see that it brings down to, well, there's just that one single test failure which has a plain comment or multiple comments, but it doesn't yet have a bug ref. So how does that compare to other jobs? So let's maybe unclick the To-Do box, but show all that have failed. And we can see the difference here. We can see that this job fails in user SMBD. It has a bug reference. That one fails in Gnode link node, and it has a progress ticket reference, meaning for us that it's a test failure, right? Or test needs adaptation. Yeah, Felix?
Oli, can you go back to the previous page?
So the previous page was that one where I selected the To-Do filter.
Yeah, with the open filters.
Right. If I click here, then filters unfold, right?
Okay. Can you hover over the question mark being next to To-Do?
Right. If I hover, nothing happens, but if I click there, then you actually can see that it's called a popover. Yep.
Okay. I wanted to ask if we can add this feature, but now I see that it's already there. So yeah, thanks for answering the question and fulfilling the feature request immediately.
You mean like a help text?
Yeah, explanation what To-Do actually means, but it's there, which is nice.
Yes. Good that you bring that up, because it wasn't there like that for all the time. So we also reviewed the, when we added the feature to the test page where it was already in the test overview, we reviewed existing uses, including the help text and the documentation. And yeah, so there's a link back to the documentation. So this is where we started from. Yanis?
I remember when I saw the To-Do, I was wondering what it does. Even the explanation is not so clear. Why, from UX perspective, why not must review or some other? Why To-Do?
Well, the simple answer is because it was Stefan Kulo who just added that To-Do flag, and nobody said, and everybody said like, okay, why not? Because the To-Do flag helps to make To-Do, and that's how it came into place. About the must review, it's also a bit very much depending on how different projects use that flag. For example, for us within the SUSE QE Tools team, we also have a job group which we care about, which is the openQA job group. And there, I can tell you that maybe it's simpler for us, but this is a process that works for us, is that we don't care about reviewing individual job failures, because whenever there's a job failure, means our work is only done when the failure disappears again. So we don't need that intermediate step, because we either say everything is good or we need to do something about it, right? So it depends a bit on the individual teams how they want to do it. Okay, so let me shortly go back to the fail view. So yeah, here we see the different kinds of symbols that show up, like bug ref and a progress ticket, and also multiple references. And then there's also this one case of reboot gnome which only has a comment. So that one was the one showing up on the TODO page. Now, that's what I wanted, where we started from initially when we worked on that epic, is that we also have the old tests page. And on the old tests page, we have this running jobs, and then if we go further, the next block is the scheduled jobs, and then we have the finished jobs. And here you can see that we have the very same checkbox with the very same help text, because the same applies here. You see there are past jobs, there are failed jobs. You can see immediately, for example, these two failed jobs show up. The first one does not have any comment attachment. The second one does have one. If I click on to do, then we see that all the past ones disappear. It only shows failures and incompletes, and we can see that the one with the flash icon disappears from view as well, because that one doesn't need review, and we are left with the jobs that actually would need review to be complete within each build. Of course, we can also see some special tests like this investigation tests here. So it depends on the product-specific workflows, if you actually want to put some kind of ticket reference into these investigation jobs as well, or just the ones within the build. So this is why we have the different views of to-dos with different starting points. So let me make a short poll, and I would like to ask you, do you know / use the to-do flag? And poll option number 1 should be yes, it's part of daily workflows. Sometimes no, but I know it and never heard of it.
You reference just the to-do in the global tests or also the to-do in the job groups?
Sorry, say again, what was the start of the question?
Just mean the to-do on the /tests page?
Oh, in general,
The
yeah, like
general to-do,
wherever,
so also the one in the job groups.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
makes a big difference.
True, it does make a big difference. So maybe that's follow-up. Also, if you like, you can submit your answers as part of the poll, which are opened here in. So find in the Jitsi chat box, there are 2 tabs. Second one is polls, and there you can submit your votes. I can already see some sprinkled in. So some use it as part of daily workflows, some use it sometimes, and at least who never heard of it in before. So that's good that we are doing that workshop. And now, maybe based on these responses, I would like to ask you a bit more feedback. So who would like to say, how useful is the to-do feature? Do you think it helps a lot? Do you think that it works nicely in combination with other means? And then maybe you want to explain your workflows, how you use that, like you use the to-do flag for this, but for other purposes you use that.
Well, I can start. I have one probably of the largest product groups on O3, not on OSD, of course.
Right.
For Tumbleweed, I use it really daily because a snapshot can only be released when everything has been reviewed. So it has to be part of the workflow, at least to give it the comment that the check can be ignored, but usually to flag it, bug reference and select. So it's mandatory for me.
Cool. So, I mean, you would be able to find the jobs without the to-do flag, right?
Yes, of course. It's just finding the one that hasn't been reviewed in a list of 300 complete tests is kind of tedious.
Of course. So it to cross-check, the to-do flag in its current implementation, it does mean that whenever that list is empty, then also likely the bot has the same opinion, right?
No, that's not entirely true because it only means I have a bug reference, but it doesn't mean that the bugs are being ignored by TTM.
Right, of course, I forgot. Thank you for reminding. So it's like the first level, and then
Yes.
afterwards you still need to decide like, okay, now everything has a bug ref, and now I can decide which one should be ignorable. Right?
Exactly. Then I can see why TTM is not releasing it. Is some bug not ignored entirely.
Yeah, perfect.
The to-do on the old tests I never use because it's for me the old test is more or less just a schedule and running overview on how
Right.
things are
Yeah.
progressing.
I would also say that the old test page is not really for you starting that product-centric view, but it would be for other reviewers. Like,
Right.
you know, if I can fill here and say, show me all Audiast failures that need reviewing, because maybe I'm the maintainer of Audiast, and then I would be able to find that. Okay, so Yanis?
I don't remember the implementation of this, but first of all, the agreement with Jim is very simple tool that it's useful when you have a lot of things to review. I was wondering if instead of to do, it was again from the UX perspective, it was more nice, let's say, to have instead of these the colors with the different colors, the bar, and see immediately that you have 10 pass, 2 fails, 3 short fails, and with one, I don't know, purple color, I don't know, not review.
You mean on the build overview,
Here,
like here?
yes, you see green, orange, red,
Right.
and blue were running. And instead of to do things, you see immediately with one color that from the 20 failures, there is two not reviewed, and you don't need to go through all the to do.
Yeah, right. So we have 10 failures, and maybe it helps already on that level to know, like, well, there's actually just one that needs reviewing.
But also, you see, if you have this, you see in the history as it is like the list of the builds, you see immediately that in the previous, you will be able to see that in a previous build you didn't review this, and the you know immediately without go to do.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Other feedback? Michael?
Hi, yeah. So it was one comment from my point of view doing the openQA review for maintenance. I know about this to-do filter, but I actually never used it because my task usually is not only to open a ticket about this stuff, but continuously monitor what's happening. And the end goal is to make sure that updates get approved. So um, I have a special filter which shows everything but finished green. This means that anything which is scheduled or user cancelled or still running, I want to see because I need to know if I'm finished doing the review or I must keep looking because something is about to finish and I need to see if it's failed or not. So
Right.
it's the use case, but yeah.
So I guess, yeah, I'm also using that. For example, I click none, including the one which do not yet have a result, and show me all others. And I leave out past and soft failed. And then I see like, okay, so these are failed, but they are labeled. That one is currently running. That one has been cancelled because the parallel job failed. and that one is needing review. So I guess that also works, and this is why we want to have that filter. I guess it's okay like that. I mean, thinking about the alternatives, what could be done, one could think about making the simple checkbox for to do something like a pull down menu with alternatives, but I'm not sure if it would help.
Yeah, just to mention that that's a different use case, because the main goal is not to have comments or tickets to failed jobs, but first understand, is it something getting blocked? Some updates are getting blocked, and then look at working on the failures.
And what's your feeling? Do you think it's okay like that, or do you think like this is really something that should be improved?
I don't know. I think we could compare how many users needs this compared to the other
Right.
behavior, but in the end, it's just something that you can reach by clicking some stuff in the filters, and you can do whatever you like in any case, and then you save the URL and you have it.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
not a big deal. Just to mention that in my case, I prefer to see also what is running and scheduled to make sure, have an idea. Is it because I could see only one failure and might be a very good day because everything else is green, or a horrible day because everything else is scheduled and it, for some reason, never run.
exactly.
So it's
Right.
important to know.
Right. Yeah, that's true, and I think all of that are valid use cases. So for us, it's also important to consider that, you know, maybe a beginner starts with picking UI elements and experiments a bit, and then I would say pro users can save the URLs, and I think that's important that we keep supporting that workflows for expert users based on the URL, then it would work. And this is also why, for example, here, of course, it starts with a specific build. But if I leave out the build, then for today, I will just see the very same, but the URL stays valid because it doesn't include the build. So, you know, every day we would be able to use the very same URL. You like, you know, pick a cup of coffee, sit down and review that page every day in the morning or something like that. Okay, cool. Other feedback or opinions? Then maybe I can go on a little bit more into details of distinguishing the different kind of icons that we have here. So for example, we have one job which has these 3 icons next to it, or actually let's start from left to right. So we have the red bubble, which means the overall job has failed. And then we have this box saying that there is one failed module, the so-called test module, and the test module is called change password. And likely that one test module is the reason why the overall job has failed. But you can also see other examples. For example, here, you can see that this job, it's actually parallel failed. So we see that this doesn't show up as red, but as gray, because the job itself didn't actually fail per se. It still had a failed module, but the reason why the job was actually aborted was, which is visible here, because there's a parallel parent dependency which failed, which is that job. And that one, again, has a link to not only the one above, which is the client, but also the server. So we can see the full relation from these 3 jobs. So the policy server failed here. And you know what you can do is say, like, all three of them are likely the same problem. And if we take a look, then you can see in the URL. So down at the bottom, you see the progress ticket URL ending with the number 2905. Here it's 2905 as well. So it's the very same ticket which is linked here. Now a bit more elaborate example would be that one. So that one failed. It failed in 1, 2, +1 modules, which in HaberText shows KDAB and crash. So it actually failed in 3 modules. And a very diligent reviewer actually noted down 3 ticket references, 1 progress ticket and 2 bugs. But showing here that we have also related module. So I changed parent dependency green, so it doesn't even show up on that page here. It basically means that, well, extra text mode boots a pre-installed image. And what that green thing means that, well, obviously the parent path which created the image. Otherwise we would end up here. Take a look into the job in general. I'm going to the comments page. Oops. So we can see that Dimster originally, not in that job, but in an older one, has written, this is just Markdown. So it's basically convention to use a list including all individual test module failures. It wouldn't be required to count the job as labeled because, it could be that you have one module failing and it's a certain bug, and then subsequent modules also fail because of that. Then you would maybe just put one ticket reference here. But we can see that there's one progress ticket reference and then one reference to Bugzilla OpenSUSE.org for OVN and for KDAB as well. That one. The same symbols show up in the list of next and previous results. So if we go take a look here, then we can see like, okay, it seems that at least for 5 builds, the situation looks to be the same. So we have the same modules failing since these 5 days, and we have likely the same comment. If we take a look back, it says automatic takeover from that test. If I follow that test and then go into next and previous results, then I see, aha, this is the current test. So we are currently looking at that one, which makes sense. So that's the first one in the row of, the 5 where we have the same bug references, where that one is the latest one, the one which we just looked at in before. Now there's an additional comments bubble. Actually, in the HaberText, it says that 2 comments are available. And what we see here is that actually these are results from automatic investigation job. And what we see is that, well, that's likely expected. What is a bit something that could be improved is that we have 2 incomplete tests. Normally the investigation job should really be able to finish up with either failed or passed or soft failed. I didn't check the specific incompletes. It could be that they incompleted because maybe the generated QCA image was already pruned or something. But we see that the retry failed and also the last good tests fail. So, it's unlikely that we have a test regression here, or at least not only a test regression. And we have seen that the scenario itself already failed in before with just the 2 bugs. And, it's just that WPA supplicant joined here. So it also fails here. Anybody that would like to explain why are there no bug icons showing up on that build and on that build?
Probably because there is no bug reference, but just another comment.
Yes, but normally we have this carryover. So, you know, as we have seen in the latest build, there was not actually a human writing a comment there, but the comment was taken over automatically from this to that, from this to that, from this to that, from this to that.
Because there are new or less amount of test failures. If you look at the difference between the previous one and the one where the references are missing, you will notice that there is one more test failure or one less.
Right. So the exact list of test modules changed, and this is the conservative choice that is taken by openQA. As soon as something changes, it's not taking over the same label anymore. Now, for this one, you can see that there are again 2 bugs, and you know there was this one in the middle which behaved differently. If we take a look here, then we can see that this one is actually again an automatic takeover. So how did that work? Maybe that's important to know, that if there is like one intermittent failure, then openQA will like say that's okay, that's something that, you know, can happen. It would still carry over the label here. The same would happen if, for example, if that job wouldn't even be failed, but, you know, if it would be incomplete, then this is something that is skipped over anyway for evaluation. If it would be passed or soft failed, so that, you know, you have a sporadic pass, maybe that can also happen. But then it returns back to the same list of test modules failing, then we would actually end up with the same. And I guess the same happens here. We still have that one additional comment. So who has an idea what that comment will likely be?
Investigation jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever we have jobs which don't have a label yet, so, you know, the label carryover happens first. So if nothing changes, then openQA just carries over the label and no investigation jobs are triggered. Why would you trigger investigation jobs when you already know what's failing and you're basically waiting for the bug fix? Here, there is no label carryover because not the same list of test module fails. And there is also no label, you know, Dimster, if you would have been quick, you could have put a label there, like label ignore or something, before the job even finished, like while it's still running. Or it could be that auto review is automatically putting a label there because maybe someone created a progress ticket which matches some regex from the MTA failure, and then auto review would put the label there. If all of that doesn't happen, then automatic investigation jobs are triggered, which of course take some time to finish. But then you can actually see from the comments here that after 3 hours, at least the investigation jobs was finished. That one was evaluated, and DQ test came to the conclusion that because the retry also failed, this is likely not a sporadic failure or not a sporadic.
Just one comment here. What would be probably interesting is I'm pretty sure the rerun there had different test modules that failed, because MTA is the one that's actually sporadically popping up.
That's correct, yes.
So it might have been interesting that it says it is somewhat sporadic because it's differently failed than before.
That's true. So what the investigation jobs look at, same as this automatic label carryover, is basically the job as a whole. And if something changes in the job, then it's a new failure. But we know already from that list that, well, the difference is MTA, right? Of course, it still fails because OVN and KDAM crash will fail. So true. I see different things that could be done here. Of course, as a potential future feature request, or if someone would like to hack something into the investigation jobs, which I would like to show you where they are, they actually don't live within the openQA repo itself, but within the scripts repo. So scripts repo is, let's say, some kind of a bit more independent scripts, which are more easily tested, which are more independent of the core openQA. And there's wait, which one is it? The openQA Investigate. So openQA Investigate, that's the shell script, which is 186 lines, so it's not too complicated. And what that one does is here in trigger jobs, it triggers these different investigation jobs. And let's see, where is this? Yeah, so, and this is the logic which decides like, okay, now the retry has failed, and now write back that second comment to say that's likely not a sporadic test. So if anyone would like to hack a bit, then this is the place to go. And this is where you could even, what we do here is we parse the JSON output from the openQA job. And what you could do is from there parse the list of test modules and compare the list of test modules. And where was I? Yeah, right. And other alternatives are, of course, you could say, well, if it's expected that OVM and KDump and crash will fail for longer because maybe, let's check in the bugs. Crash is unable to find debug info. I mean, that one was reported in September 2021. So, and it's regarded as P3 with normal severity and being any news here. So yeah, it doesn't look like this will be fixed very, very soon. So a good approach would be to build in soft failure so that the test code itself can internally track this problem and make sure that even the job wouldn't fail on that. And then if you manage to do that for OVM and KDump and crash, you would be able to have a soft failure here, and then that one would fail, and then it would be more clear to really say like, oops, now something new failed, which wasn't there before, and afterwards we go back to the soft build. So Jimstar, I get you know that, but does that make sense to you, or do you think like that is in reality it's not feasible to do? What would you say?
The trick with the soft fails is always that you're actually not masking other new failures, which are not exactly the bug which you expect to see.
Yeah, that's true. But overall, I think the risk is even lower that you do that with the record soft failure, because, within the test code, you would be able to, I don't know, check the log file of OVM and say, like, is it exactly that error message?
Yeah, you have to be sure to really make sure that you see that bug which is reported and not a different one. So
right, and with the
log files and make sure that's that one.
Yeah, and with labeling the test module, actually the risk is higher that any other failure in OVN, OpenQA wouldn't detect that now it still fails in the same module, but 2 steps earlier or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So some other opinions or maybe suggestions on that, how to handle this workflow? Nope. Okay, so let's come to the part where we do the rainbow unicorn Christmas wishes, and you can say what you would like to have. I'm not making any promises, but let's pretend that you're able to make wishes. What do you think we could do as ideas? And I definitely will note down the ideas, that much I will promise, of what we can do and what we can improve or extend in that domain.
No more test failures.
Okay, as I said, I promise I will note down your idea.
That's simply don't test, you don't have failures.
Yes, so that would be one approach to do that. Test less, and then less will fail. What else could be done to have less test failures? So okay, maybe one idea would be to say kind of the brute force approach, like here, this is also what some people suggest. We could put in every single job, or actually in like, medium types or machines or the workers, we could put the retry, like open docs.
But then you're testing more, not less, right?
Automatic retries of jobs. You would test more, but you would test towards having passed, because, retry means you stop as soon as everything is okay, or as soon as something's passed.
Yeah, but with the product bug, you will be testing forever after.
Well, the retry stops, right?
Okay.
So it would take longer for you to end up with like, okay, retrying doesn't help, so you actually need to look into the issue. It would take longer for you to find that. That's true. Richard?
Yeah, Oliver, when I said the job setting with retried equal to, and then if the original case passed, did the openQA try to retrigger the job? I mean, if the job passed at the first time,
Yes.
did openQA try to retrigger the next ones?
Retry will retrigger an openQA test on failure. Okay, so only if one job fails, then it will retrigger. It doesn't account for the history. So if a job passed, no retry. If a job is soft failed, no retry. If it fails, then it would retry. In that example, it would retry up to 2 more times, and it would stop.
Okay.
If you have
from my findings on my job group, I can see that even the original case passed, it tried to retry. But I'm not sure if my settings cause that. I will talk to you later offline.
Yeah, sure. Just give us in written form a URL, or write in a ticket where you observed it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Yanis?
So to have less failures, there is a good solution that is already mentioned in the past, but it's really hard to actually do it in practice in openQA. One of it's from in kernel, for example, we use the development group first and run everything there, and then we move it to the the main group. But if you take, for example, the containers or the public cloud, it's gonna be another copy of another group, many other groups who have to, and many people don't, have the will to do this extra step. But this stabilizes a lot the test, actually.
Right. Yes. In the end, I think the only thing that helps is to have a continuous decision process that is influenced by the test results. So that's what we have for we have that for Tumbleweed. I would like to mention that, of course, openQA itself is a simpler example. So what we have there is, as soon as tests fail, we will not release new packages of openQA into Tumbleweed, and we will not deploy new installations of openQA. And of course, that is what people from the SUSE QE Tools are motivated to do. It's like their main job to get new versions of our products released, like a new version of openQA deployed, released and deployed. Okay, meaning that there is this inherent motivation to have passing tests and of course also have stable tests, because in their daily work, like every second day, you would be hindered in releasing if a test fails every now and then. Chris, because I see you at the front of the alphabet. Is it alpha? No. Yeah, because I see you here, Chris. Can you confirm that this is true? What I'm saying is that, you know, we are motivating ourselves within the SUSE QE Tools teams to have stable tests, because we wouldn't be able to release.
Well, I'd say it's always the ideal goal, right? It's like there's various reasons why tests are unstable, but it's the ultimate goal is, well, in some sense unachievable, but it's still the ideal, right?
Yeah, but is it idealistic, or is it effectively, you know, we need to do that because otherwise we wouldn't release openQA anymore?
Well, I'd say it's an ideal in the sense that, like bugs, you can never guarantee that everything is working perfectly stable, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it can happen that, you know, jobs fail, but what I'm saying is that if we accumulate a failing test, and if there would be one of these three scenarios which would constantly fail, then we would never release an openQA build again.
Right, because you don't know if you can trust the release at that point.
No, I mean, because our automation wouldn't release it. Timster?
I think it's increasingly more difficult the larger the test suite gets. I mean, here you're testing one
Exactly.
code-based
So,
openQA.
yeah.
But if you look at Tumbleweed, which is an accumulation of 15,000 packages, a single one having a problem in there might be a problem. So it's, of course, the larger the code base gets, the more critical it gets to ever get a full green.
Yeah, right.
The wish is still there, of course, that we're full green. I mean, that's still the goal. We managed to get below 10 red ones at one point. Now we're back at 20.
Well, I guess you remember that we also had a time where we were down to 1 or 2 in the past 3 years.
Happened as well once, yes. But on the other hand, we also increased to more than 300 tests. At one point, we were at 200.
That's correct. But Yanis started with a point to say it's possible. It's just that many people are not motivated to go through this stabilization phase. So, Timster, what would you say? How can we maybe, you know, improve the inherent motivation or something?
Oh, that's tricky. I mean, we have two areas there. We have on one kind the progress tickets, which is sort of in our control.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's test code failures or unreliable tests, like the Firefox one, for example, that's been there for like a long time now, that should be our motivation to get them green. Then we have the product bugs, which is, of course, different group of people that have to work on those.
Right.
Of course, we can mask them with a soft fail, which doesn't really make the bug go away. If you look at purely from the test perspective, you can say, well, we know it's there, it's bugged. We have accepted this for a release, so we can mark it soft fail, that's okay. On the other hand, it adds even more load to actually rewrite the test for something which is known broken,
Yeah.
where we could use those resources to actually improve our test cases generally.
Or yeah, or in such case, you know, instead of implementing a workaround in test, provide an actual help towards the bug fix of the product, which maybe also works.
Exactly. I mean, that's often something that the developers don't know how QA works. I mean, I think they don't really understand in many cases that this is just simulating a user.
Yeah, which is a good point, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, any other opinions or voices? Maybe also in general, as we're nearing towards the end of this workshop session. Any other ideas that you have? Okay, fine. So with that, I would like to conclude this topic of to-do functionality in openQA. Thank you for staying with me on that topic, which I find important because, you know, it's very near to the main job of what QA engineers are doing and what is the benefit of openQA built into a complete release pipeline. The next meeting which we will have is the first Friday of a month. It's also the first day of the month, April. So next week we will have the SUSE QE Tools Roadmap, where we will show you what we have completed in that 1 month of work, what
we'll
we
see
have.
all of the things we're not going to do, right?
And all the things that we will not do, like implementing the idea to have no more test failures, right?
Well,
Exactly,
he will present us with a lot of funny things and then at the end say, well, it's April 1st, Fool's Day.
Now you spoiled the surprise. Okay, so the surprise will be that we will just be very serious and do it down to the point and not do any kind of pranks on you. Fine. And then after that, so in 2 weeks from now, we will do a follow-up to the meeting that we had last week and how to report tickets, to find, and the goal there should be really to brainstorm together how to find improvements for automating and manual bug reporting templates. For example, how to more clearly mark text that needs to replace, you know, capital letters or some kind of special characters. How to encourage bug reporters to add mandatory information without annoying power users in their daily work. So I'm also looking forward to that. And after that, we already have many, many more juicy and interesting topics. So it's already getting hard to accommodate space, but we're also always open for new topics. With that, thank you for your attendance and hope to see you again the next time. See you and bye-bye.